I often see a question pop up online ever since the release of Persona 3 Reload. Does Persona 4 need a remake? While some people have their answers right away, others have difficulty thinking if one way or the other is best. I pondered this question for some time. It has almost already been a year since the release of Persona 3 Reload, which is crazy within itself to say. It felt like this game was released only a couple months ago. Once I beat Persona 3 Reload though, I thought I finally had my answer. That was until I thought about what happened to me when my favorite game of all time was remade. I'm gonna be fully honest here. I am still playing Persona 4 Golden. I put it down some time last summer and have been so busy with life and now making content that having time to play this game has become more difficult. I was spoiled in this game some time ago, so it's not as if I don't know anything about the story or what's happening. I know the game pretty well, I just want to be able to experience it myself. This video will be as spoiler free as I possibly can make it. There won't be any big conversation about plot points or characters or so on and so forth. This will only really be about should this be remade. Persona 4 is a title that I was introduced to after beating Persona 5, like I'm sure many others were. I am by no means an OG Persona 4 fan. I'm sure that me saying that will cause a lot of people to feel as if what I'm saying may not matter much. And to them, I want to say this. As I said already, I never got to play the original Persona 4 Golden on release, or the original Persona 4 when it released on the PS2. This angle is going to be a little bit different. This will be coming from someone who had their favorite game remade and how I feel about it now. If you look back at some of my older videos, you're going to see a video from about 9 years ago. This was me at 16 years old. I had no idea what I was doing, so please save me and yourself the cringe of watching that video. I was about 16 years old at the time, and Final Fantasy VII Remake was just announced. I'll be making a full Final Fantasy VII Remake video in my life leading up to that moment, so stay tuned in the future as I won't be going fully in depth here. Either way, I was ecstatic. I had been asking for a remake for that game for so long, and here we are almost 10 years later from that video, and Final Fantasy VII Remake was not what I had envisioned. The title has changed from being what I wanted to an entirely different story. This was heartbreaking, yet I'm still here and I'm waiting for part 3 no matter what happened. I'm sure a lot of you are worried that Atlas is going to ruin your favorite game, or maybe that it's so perfect that it doesn't need to have a fresh coat of paint. You are the people I want to talk to. Let's just start off with this. Persona 3 Reload became one of the fastest selling Persona's titles of all time. I was extremely hyped that I'd be able to play this on modern consoles and have it looking as fresh as possible with Atlas's newest modern graphics. This alone had me excited. I wasn't somebody who had the chance or accessibility to play these Persona titles growing up, so having it remade was something that would benefit me as it would feel fresh for me and everyone else playing it. I understand there were some things that changed, like the lighting or the mood, as it didn't really match the original, and some story beats might have changed here and there, but the game is still one of the greatest works that Atlas has ever made. I'm not here to debate, but I seriously think Persona 3 Reload is an amazing game. Which brings me to the next question. Why can't that be Persona 4? Listen, this is coming from someone who isn't getting the remake they wanted. It was completely turned upside down. In reality, is it a game that needs one? No, not necessarily. Does it deserve one? Yes. Listen, I'm not going to say how they released the game without the female MC was awesome, or that they're not so awesome marketing for the DLC and expansion pass was good. Those things weren't the best. Again though, the story and about 90% of the original content was there. There was no definitive version of Persona 3. There was about, 3 different versions of Persona 3 you could play? When I found that out, I was stressing about which way was the best way to experience Persona 3. I can easily say now though, Persona 3 Reload is one of the best. Persona 4 is one of those games that even with its graphics now, it's still a good looking game. Again, my favorite title is a PS1 game from 1997. I am not one who cares much about graphics when it comes to games. If you give me great characters, a great story, I'll be along for the ride. With that being said, both of those things, Persona 4 has. There are some serious improvements though that can be made. One of the major ones to me is dungeons. They are extremely rough in this game. I know at the time this was normal, but with Atlas today, I know that these dungeons can be fixed and made to feel much better and more modern like palaces were in Persona 5. Quality of the graphics is an obvious one, but that's obviously a huge upgrade that can be made as well. This part might be a little controversial, but I think modernizing the gameplay would make it more welcoming for newcomers to the series as a whole. I understand that this may not be what a lot of Persona 4 fans want to hear, but I really do think that the mechanics of the Persona 5 era came to Persona 3 really helped it grow. I feel like if you're saying no, not only are you lying to me, you're lying to yourself. This all comes down to change. Change can be really hard and scary even. Atlas with their recent reboot of Persona 3 didn't change the game to an extent for the worse. They removed some really outdated mechanics, updated the combat system, and gave control of the party to the player. I think those updates alone make an amazing remake. I will say this though, this video is not going to be just bashing the purists and saying, hey guys, look, haha, my favorite game got remade, so why can't yours? I do have some fears and some things that I hope they don't touch. One of the major ones is the music. The music of Persona 4 feels really, really special. I think, to me at least, more special than the rest of the titles. Possibly other than Persona 5, as I'm a sucker for jazz. By no means am I saying that Persona 3 or 5 has bad music. I think every Persona title has absolute bangers, but Persona 4 music, it just feels different. I think its tones match really well with the music that it's placed in. I casually listen to the soundtrack with my fiance and kids in the car. I think that might make me one of the coolest dads ever. All jokes aside though, I hope they bring Shihoko Hirata back at the very least to remaster the tracks. I know that all the tracks are either changed or covered by Izumi Takahashi, which caused some tension in the community, although I think personally Izumi did an amazing job, others are not so inclined to share the same thoughts that I had. The other thing that worries me is the voice cast of Persona 4. I think 90% of the cast did an amazing job for Persona 3 Reload, with some I don't fully agree with, but I really like the new cast for the game. I know that I'm not the popular vote with that, but I spent a lot of time playing bad JRPGs with terrible voice acting, and Persona 3 Reload is not one of them. I love the Persona 4 voice cast. They're all super personable. It was a huge step up from Persona 3. I mean, do I need to say more?
You mean hack into their system? That's illegal.
The last thing that I would be worried about really is the tone and atmosphere of the game. These are integral pieces of the puzzle for Persona games. If those are moved or played with, it almost feels like a completely different game. With all my fears and concerns out of the way, Persona 4 is a game that doesn't need a complete remake just yet, but something that I think would be welcomed with open arms. How do you guys feel? Is that something you'd want to see? Are there other titles out there that you'd like them to remake first? I know that for me personally, if you're asking me, I would like to see a Persona 1 and 2 remake first, but again, totally okay with the Persona 4 next. Or are you just ready to see Persona 6? I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you have any ideas or questions or things you'd like me to cover, let me know. I love talking to you guys in the comments and hearing your stories and takes. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much.